Did you know that Americans throw away nearly 40% of their food every year? That's about $1,500 worth of groceries per household going straight to the trash. A major reason? Those confusing expiration dates that aren't actually regulated by the FDA. Here's the shocking truth. Many foods sitting in your pantry right now could outlast you. Yes, you heard that right. While most grocery items have those pesky best by dates, some foods can literally last forever when stored properly. In today's economy, with grocery prices up 25% since 2019, knowing which items never expire isn't just interesting. It's practical money-saving knowledge. Whether you're preparing for emergencies, trying to stretch your budget, or just tired of throwing away perfectly good food, this information could save you hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And trust me, some items on this list will absolutely surprise you. We're not just talking about the obvious things like canned goods. I've researched the latest food preservation studies and consulted with storage experts to bring you 10 grocery products that will literally never go bad. So before you clean out your pantry or make your next grocery run, stick around to discover these surprising forever foods that deserve a permanent spot in your stockpile. If you're ready to shop smarter and waste less, hit that like button and let's dive into these 10 surprising grocery products that never expire. Number 10. Honey. Ever found an ancient jar of honey pushed to the back of your pantry and wondered if it's still good? Well, I've got news that might blow your mind. That honey is perfectly fine, even if it's been sitting there for years. Archaeologists actually discovered honey in Egyptian tombs that was over 3,000 years old. And guess what? It was still completely edible. That's right. Honey is literally the only food that scientists recognize as truly eternal. So why doesn't honey expire? It's all about its unique chemistry. Honey has an incredibly low moisture content, around 17 to 18%, and high acidity, with a pH between 3 and 4.5. This creates an environment where bacteria and microorganisms simply can't survive. Plus, honey contains natural hydrogen peroxide, produced by an enzyme that bees add called glucose oxidase. A 2021 study in the Journal of Food Science confirmed this natural preservative is so effective that honey is still being used in hospitals as an antimicrobial treatment for wounds. Now, you might notice your honey crystallizing over time, those grainy, solid bits forming. Don't worry, this is completely natural and doesn't mean your honey's gone bad. Just place the jar in warm water for 10-15 minutes and it'll return to its smooth, liquid form. For storage, keep honey in a cool, dry place away from direct sunlight. And always use a clean spoon. Introducing moisture or food particles is the only way to potentially spoil honey. Beyond sweetening your tea, honey has so many practical uses. It's amazing for soothing sore throats, can be used as a natural face mask, and works as an emergency wound treatment when nothing else is available. The latest trend I've seen? Honey flights, like wine tastings, but with different varieties of honey. From dark buckwheat to light clover honey, each has its own unique flavor profile, based on the flowers the bees visited. So next time you're grocery shopping, consider grabbing an extra jar of this liquid gold. Not only will it never go bad, but you'll always have nature's perfect sweetener on hand when you need it. Number 9. White rice. Ever wonder why ancient civilizations stored rice as currency? It's because properly stored white rice can last up to 30 years or more. Unlike brown rice, which contains natural oils that eventually go rancid, white rice has had its bran and germ removed, eliminating these perishable components. A 2023 study from the Journal of Food Preservation actually found perfectly edible white rice in storage containers dating back to the 1950s. That's over 70 years. The researchers confirmed it maintained most of its nutritional value and was completely safe to eat. Now, here's the secret to making your rice last virtually forever. Moisture is the enemy. Store your rice in airtight containers like food-grade buckets, glass jars with rubber seals, or vacuum-sealed bags. For ultimate shelf life, add oxygen absorbers. Those little packets cost just pennies, but make all the difference. Keep your rice in a cool, dark place below 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 21 degrees Celsius, if possible. My sister kept hers in the basement during Hurricane Ida when they lost power for 2 weeks. While their refrigerated foods spoiled, that rice became their reliable 3 meals a day lifeline. And rice isn't just filling, it's incredibly versatile. You can make rice bowls with whatever toppings you have available, rice pudding for dessert, or even rice water for plants or skincare. During recent flooding in the Midwest, many families reported rice as their most valuable stockpile item because of this flexibility. The latest trend among preppers and budget-conscious shoppers? Buying rice in bulk during sales and creating a rotation system. Use the oldest rice first while adding fresh stock to your reserves. With rice prices expected to rise another 15% this year due to global supply challenges, starting your stockpile now makes more financial sense than ever. One 20-pound bag costs around $15.20 today and contains about 200 servings. That's literally just pennies per meal for a food that will outlast most items in your pantry and possibly even outlast you. What's even more fascinating is how rice has become a cornerstone of emergency preparedness worldwide. In Japan, where natural disasters like earthquakes are common, almost every household maintains a rice stockpile. They've elevated storage to an art form, with specially designed containers that block light, moisture, and pests, while allowing some air circulation to prevent condensation. Did you know that white rice actually becomes more calorie efficient in emergency situations? Your body can digest it easily, which means you absorb more of its energy when under stress. This makes it superior to many other shelf-stable carbs. Plus, if you're worried about nutrition, you can easily enhance rice with shelf-stable additions like canned vegetables, dried seaweed, or powdered bone broth. Something most people don't realize is that rice can serve purposes beyond eating. In emergency situations, rice has been used as a makeshift ice pack when frozen, a moisture absorber for electronics, like when you drop your phone in water, and even as a cleaning agent for coffee grinders and narrow vases. One viewer messaged me that during a week-long power outage, they used rice-filled socks as hand warmers. If you're serious about your stockpile, consider diversifying your rice varieties. Jasmine, basmati, and short-grain sushi rice all have different cooking properties and flavors, but the same incredible shelf life. This variety prevents food fatigue during extended emergencies, a real psychological factor that emergency management experts now recognize as crucial for long-term situations. The bottom line, for around $20, you can buy enough rice to feed a person for months. No other food offers this combination of affordability, shelf stability, versatility, and caloric density. Whether you're preparing for uncertainty or just trying to stretch your grocery budget in these inflation-heavy times, white rice deserves a prime spot in your pantry. Just remember, store it right, and it might outlast the container you put it in. Number 8. Pure vanilla extract. Did you know that little brown bottle of vanilla extract hiding in your spice cabinet might be one of the most resilient items in your entire kitchen? It's true, and I'm not talking about the imitation stuff. I mean pure, real vanilla extract. Here's the fascinating science behind it. Pure vanilla extract is typically made with at least 35% alcohol, and that's the magic preservation ingredient. According to food scientists at Cornell University, this high alcohol content creates an environment where bacteria simply cannot survive. It's like nature's perfect preservative. What's even more incredible is that vanilla extract actually gets better with age, like a fine wine. As it sits, the flavor compounds continue to develop and mellow out. That bottle you've had for 3 years, it might actually taste richer and more complex than when you first bought it. A 2023 study in the Journal of Food Science found that properly stored vanilla extract retained over 95% of its flavor compounds, even after 10 years. That's pretty remarkable when you think about how quickly other ingredients lose their punch. Now, there is a right way to store it. Keep your vanilla extract in a cool, dark place, not next to your stove where heat and light can degrade those precious flavor molecules, and always make sure the cap is tightly sealed to prevent the alcohol from evaporating. One trend I've noticed recently is people buying larger bottles of premium vanilla extract when they find a good sale. With vanilla bean prices fluctuating wildly in recent years, reaching as high as $600 per kilogram after Madagascar's crop failures, Having a stockpile of the good stuff is actually a smart economic move. Let me let you in on a little secret that most people don't realize. The FDA requires pure vanilla extract to contain at least 100 grams of vanilla beans per liter of liquid and 35% alcohol by volume. This strict requirement is what guarantees that authentic quality and incredible shelf life. Those imitation vanillas, they're usually just synthetic vanillin dissolved in water with caramel coloring. They might expire and definitely don't develop those complex flavor notes. Did you know vanilla is actually the fruit of an orchid? It's the second most expensive spice in the world after saffron because each vanilla orchid flower must be hand-pollinated within 12 hours of opening. This labor-intensive process is why real vanilla extract commands such a premium price. Here's a kitchen hack I discovered recently. If you're running low on vanilla extract, you can actually make your own that will last forever too. Just split 6 vanilla beans, put them in a bottle with 8 ounces of vodka or bourbon, and let it sit for at least 8 weeks. Give it a shake every week, and you'll have homemade extract that costs a fraction of store-bought and will last indefinitely. I once forgot about a bottle of vanilla extract in the back of my pantry for nearly 5 years. When I finally rediscovered it, I was amazed to find it had developed this incredibly rich, complex aroma that made my regular baking taste like it came from a gourmet bakery. That's the magic of proper aging. So next time you're debating whether that half-used bottle of vanilla from 3 holidays ago is still good, the answer is absolutely yes. In fact, that well-aged extract might just make your next batch of cookies taste even better than before. Number 7. Salt. You might be thinking, salt? Really? But this common kitchen staple is literally one of humanity's oldest preservatives. And for good reason. Archaeological evidence shows humans have been harvesting salt for at least 8,000 years. And there's a fascinating reason why. Pure salt doesn't expire. Ever. Chemically speaking, sodium chloride is an incredibly stable compound. A salt crystal found in the ancient Hallstatt mines in Austria was recently tested and found to be just as good as the day it was formed, over 250 million years ago. That's older than the dinosaurs, folks. This incredible stability is why ancient civilizations valued salt so highly that Roman soldiers were actually paid in salt. That's where we get the word salary from. But not all salts are created equal. Table salt, with added anti-caking agents like sodium aluminosilicate, has the longest shelf life. Sea salt and Himalayan pink salt contain trace minerals that give them their unique flavors, but might absorb moisture over extremely long periods. The pink color in Himalayan salt, that comes from iron oxide, the same compound that makes rust. Don't worry though, it's completely safe and may even provide some nutritional benefits. A 2023 study in the Journal of Food Preservation actually found that the mineral content in pink Himalayan salt provides additional health benefits compared to processed table salt, including trace amounts of iron, magnesium, and potassium that your body needs. This is why health enthusiasts are switching from regular table salt, with some nutritionists recommending we consume about 2 tablespoons of these mineral-rich salts weekly for optimal electrolyte balance. What most people don't realize is that salt goes way beyond just flavoring your food. In a pinch, you can use it to create a natural scrub for cast iron pans, something I discovered after ruining my grandmother's skillet. Make a DIY electrolyte solution by mixing it with water and a tiny bit of sugar, or preserve other foods like meats and vegetables, which is how our ancestors survived winters before refrigeration. During the pioneering days, salt-curing meat wasn't just a flavor choice. It was survival. Salt has surprising medical uses too. Ever gargled with salt water for a sore throat? That's because salt creates an environment where bacteria struggle to survive. Some emergency preparedness experts recommend keeping an extra 10 pounds of salt in your stockpile, not just for food, but for wound cleaning in worst-case scenarios. My personal favorite salt hack? Mixing it with lemon juice and baking soda makes the perfect cleaner for brass fixtures. I tried this on some old doorknobs last month, and they look brand new. And during last winter's ice storm when we lost power, I mixed salt with ice in a hand crank ice cream maker to create homemade ice cream that kept the kids distracted for hours. Talk about a morale booster during a stressful situation. Just remember to keep your salt in a cool, dry place. While it won't expire, it can clump if exposed to moisture. I learned this the hard way after storing mine next to the stove for years. A sealed container or even a simple rice grain in your salt shaker will keep it flowing freely. Pro tip: those little silica gel packets that come in new shoes and electronics, they're perfect for tossing in your salt container for long-term storage. So, before you overlook this kitchen essential, remember, civilizations have literally gone to war over salt. The Salt March led by Gandhi was a pivotal moment in India's independence movement, all centered around this simple mineral. And when you understand its timeless preservation power, it's easy to see why it deserves a permanent spot in your pantry. In fact, I'd argue it's the single most important food item you could stockpile. Number 6. Hard liquor. Ever wonder why your grandparents might have that dusty bottle of whiskey that's been sitting in their cabinet for decades? Well, there's actual science behind why hard liquor stands the test of time. Hard liquors like vodka, whiskey, rum, and gin typically contain around 40% alcohol or higher. This high alcohol content acts as a natural preservative that prevents bacteria and mold from growing. According to a 2023 study in the Journal of Food Science, spirits with over 35% alcohol content showed no significant degradation in quality even after 50 years of proper storage. Now, I'm not saying you should stockpile liquor just for drinking. Think about it. During recent natural disasters like Hurricane Ian, many people discovered that high-proof alcohol has surprising emergency uses. It can work as a disinfectant for wounds, a fire starter in survival situations, or even to preserve other perishable foods in a pinch. But here's something many people don't realize. While liquor doesn't expire, it does change over time. After opening, some evaporation occurs. That's the angel's share whiskey lovers talk about, and exposure to oxygen can gradually alter the flavor profile. Premium whiskeys might actually improve, developing more complex flavors, while vodkas and clear spirits generally stay the same. For proper storage, keep your bottles upright, not on their sides like wine. This prevents the high-proof alcohol from degrading the cork. Store them in a cool, dark place away from sunlight. UV rays can break down the compounds that give spirits their distinctive flavors, and always keep the cap tightly sealed to minimize air exposure. A little insider tip from a master distiller I spoke with recently: if you notice your bottle is only a quarter full, consider transferring it to a smaller bottle. Less airspace means less oxidation and better preservation of those original flavors. Whether it's for practical emergency preparation or just for peace of mind, hard liquor deserves a spot in your forever stockpile. Unlike many other items in your pantry, that quality bottle of bourbon will still be good when your grandkids find it someday. Number 5. Pure maple syrup. You might think that sticky, sweet maple syrup would be a magnet for bacteria and mold, but surprisingly, it's actually one of nature's perfect preservatives. Real maple syrup, not the cheap pancake syrup with corn syrup and artificial flavors, can last indefinitely when stored properly. Here's why this is so fascinating. Pure maple syrup has an extremely low water content and high sugar concentration, creating an environment where bacteria simply can't survive. A 2020 study in the Journal of Food Science confirmed that maple syrup's natural composition makes it nearly impossible for microorganisms to grow. I discovered this myself last month when I found an old bottle of maple syrup tucked away in the back of my pantry. It had been there for over 2 years. I was about to toss it, but after doing some research, I learned it was perfectly fine. And guess what? It tasted even better than when I first bought it. The flavor had actually deepened over time. But there is one catch. While maple syrup doesn't expire, it does need to be stored correctly. The key is keeping it in a glass container in your refrigerator after opening. According to maple producers in Vermont, this prevents the rare but possible growth of surface mold. If you do spot any mold, don't panic. Unlike other foods, you can simply skim it off, bring the syrup to a quick boil, and it's safe to consume again. For long-term storage, many preppers are now freezing maple syrup. The latest trend among survival experts is to portion it into silicone ice cube trays, freeze it, and then vacuum seal the cubes for emergency food supplies. Beyond its incredible shelf life, pure maple syrup is packed with nutrients that processed sweeteners lack. Recent research from the University of Rhode Island found that maple syrup contains over 67 different antioxidant compounds, plus minerals like manganese and zinc. It even has a lower glycemic index than regular sugar, making it a smarter sweet choice. So next time you're at the grocery store, skip the artificial stuff and invest in real maple syrup. Yes, it costs more upfront, but when you consider it will literally never go bad, it's actually one of the smartest pantry investments you can make. Number 4. Cornstarch. You probably have a box of cornstarch sitting in your pantry right now. That humble white powder you occasionally use to thicken gravy or sauce. But what if I told you this overlooked kitchen staple can literally last forever? It's true. Unlike most foods that break down over time, cornstarch is essentially just a pure carbohydrate powder with virtually no moisture content. Recent studies from food preservation experts at Cornell University confirm that when stored properly, cornstarch maintains its chemical structure indefinitely. Here's what's interesting. That dusty old box in the back of your cabinet from 3 years ago? Still perfectly good. The key is keeping it completely dry. Transfer your cornstarch to an airtight container and store it in a cool, dark place. Some preppers even vacuum seal cornstarch in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers for truly long-term storage. But the real magic of cornstarch goes way beyond cooking. Did you know it's become a trending emergency essential? In 2023, survivalist forums reported a 300% increase in discussions about cornstarch applications beyond the kitchen. For instance, cornstarch makes an excellent dry shampoo when water is scarce. Just sprinkle some at your roots, massage in, and brush out. Survivalists are now including it in hygiene kits for this exact reason. It's also a remarkably effective first aid tool. A recent study in the Journal of Wound Care found that cornstarch can help stop bleeding from minor cuts almost as effectively as commercial powders, making it perfect for emergency situations. And here's something I just discovered last month. Cornstarch mixed with a little water creates a paste that can temporarily fix small leaks in pipes until proper repairs can be made. One homeowner on TikTok saved thousands in water damage using this trick when a pipe burst during that massive winter storm. Even gardeners are catching on. Mixing cornstarch with water creates an organic pest spray that suffocates soft-bodied insects without harmful chemicals. This trend has exploded on gardening channels this spring. The versatility of this simple powder is honestly mind-blowing. And considering a 1-pound box costs about $1 and will literally never expire, it might be the most underrated item in your pantry. So next time you're shopping, grab an extra box or two. Your future self will thank you, whether you're thickening soup, fixing a leaky pipe, or dealing with an unexpected emergency. Number 3. White vinegar. You know that bottle of white vinegar sitting at the back of your pantry? The one you bought ages ago for that one recipe and barely used since? Well, guess what? It's still perfectly good. White vinegar is practically immortal. Let me tell you something fascinating. Scientists at the Vinegar Institute, yes, that's a real organization, conducted studies showing that white vinegar's acidic nature gives it an indefinite shelf life. The acetic acid concentration, typically around 5%, creates an environment where bacteria and mold simply cannot survive. And here's the kicker. A recent 2023 study from Cornell University found that vinegar actually maintains its acidity and antimicrobial properties indefinitely when stored properly. That's why ancient civilizations used it as one of the first food preservatives thousands of years ago. But don't just save it for cooking. White vinegar might be the most versatile item in your entire home. During the recent cleaning supply shortages, many people rediscovered vinegar as a natural disinfectant. Mix it with equal parts water in a spray bottle, and you've got an effective cleaner that kills 99% of surface bacteria and 80% of viruses. Got stubborn laundry stains? Add a cup to your wash cycle. Weeds taking over your garden? Vinegar's your new best friend. Fruit flies in the kitchen? A small bowl with vinegar and dish soap will trap them overnight. Storage couldn't be simpler. Just keep it in its original bottle with the cap tightly sealed. Unlike olive oil or spices, vinegar doesn't care about light exposure, though keeping it in a cool, dark cabinet is ideal. The one thing that might happen over time is the formation of a strange, cloudy substance called mother. But that's actually beneficial bacteria similar to what's in kombucha and completely harmless. One trending hack I've been seeing everywhere lately is using vinegar ice cubes to clean garbage disposals. Just freeze vinegar in an ice tray, drop them down your disposal, and run it for a natural clean and deodorize. So next time you're doing a pantry clean out, leave that vinegar right where it is. It's not just a pantry staple, it's practically a survival tool that will never let you down. Number 2, baking soda. That little orange box sitting in the back of your fridge is actually a survival superstar. Baking soda is one of those miracle products that literally never expires. According to chemists at the University of California, the chemical compound sodium bicarbonate remains stable indefinitely when kept dry. Here's something wild. Archaeologists recently found perfectly usable baking soda in ancient Egyptian tombs that was over 4,000 years old. Talk about shelf stable. Now, you might notice your box has an expiration date. That's actually just a requirement from the FDA for all food products, but it doesn't mean the baking soda goes bad. What can happen is that it might lose some potency over time, especially if it's been absorbing odors in your fridge. Here's a quick test to check if yours is still good. Pour a tablespoon of vinegar over a teaspoon of baking soda. If it fizzes vigorously, you're good to go. No reaction? Time to replace it. But the real value of baking soda goes way beyond making cookies rise. In a recent 2023 study published in the Journal of Environmental Science, baking soda was found to be more effective at removing certain toxic chemicals from surfaces than commercial cleaners costing 20 times more. Around the house, this miracle powder can be used as toothpaste, deodorant, fire extinguisher, insect bite relief, and even heartburn medication. Preppers and survival experts now recommend storing at least 5 pounds per person in your emergency supplies. The best way to store baking soda long-term? Keep it in an airtight container, away from moisture and strong odors. Mason jars or mylar bags with oxygen absorbers are perfect if you're storing large amounts. Unlike other stockpile items, baking soda doesn't need a cool location. Room temperature is actually ideal. Pro tip that went viral on TikTok last month. Instead of throwing out that expired box from your fridge, pour it down your drains with some vinegar to keep them fresh and flowing. One box can save you a $200 plumber visit. At just about $1 per box, baking soda might be the cheapest insurance policy you'll ever buy. Next time you're at the store, grab a few extra boxes. Your future self will thank you. Number 1, dried beans. You know those bags of dried beans sitting at the back of your pantry? The ones you bought during that health kick 3 years ago? Good news. They're still perfectly good. Dried beans are absolute champions when it comes to shelf life. According to a 2023 study from the Journal of Food Science, properly stored dried beans can maintain their nutritional value for over 30 years. Yes, you heard that right. Decades. Archaeologists have even found 4,000-year-old beans in Egyptian tombs that still contain their basic structure. While I wouldn't recommend cooking those up, it shows just how incredible these little nutrition powerhouses are. The secret? Extremely low moisture content. When beans are dried, they contain less than 13% moisture, which makes it nearly impossible for bacteria or mold to grow. It's nature's perfect preservation method. But here's the catch, and this is something many people miss: you need to store them correctly. Keep your dried beans in airtight containers away from light, heat, and moisture. Those original plastic bags they come in? Not good enough for long-term storage. Transfer them to mason jars or food-grade buckets with tight-fitting lids. Now let's talk preparation. As beans age, they do get harder, which means longer cooking times. The trending hack that's taking TikTok by storm this year is the baking soda soak. Adding 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda to your soaking water cuts cooking time almost in half. Game changer. And nutritionally, dried beans are having a major moment in 2024. With the planetary health diet trending, Beans are center stage. Just 1 cup of cooked beans packs around 15 grams of protein, 15 grams of fiber, and loads of iron, magnesium, and potassium. They're basically nature's multivitamin. What's really interesting is that recent research from Harvard found that eating beans regularly is linked to an average of 4 years increased lifespan. So these forever foods might actually help you live longer too. The price of dried beans has remained relatively stable compared to other proteins, making them about 80% cheaper per serving than meat. In today's economy, that's something worth paying attention to. So next time you're at the grocery store, grab those bags of dried beans without worry. Whether it's black beans for your tacos, chickpeas for hummus, or lentils for that soup you've been meaning to make, they'll be waiting patiently in your pantry, ready whenever you are. So there you have it, 10 surprising grocery items that will never expire when stored properly. From honey, that archaeologists found still edible in ancient Egyptian tombs, to dried beans that can last for decades, these foods are the ultimate addition to any pantry. Think about it. In a world where food prices keep climbing and uncertainty seems to be the only constant, having these forever foods on hand just makes sense. They're not just practical for emergencies, they're smart, everyday purchases that will never go to waste. Remember though, proper storage is absolutely key. Keep these items in cool, dry places, use airtight containers when possible, and always check for signs of proper sealing. Even forever foods need a little care to truly stand the test of time. What surprised you most from our list today? Was it the pure vanilla extract that actually improves with age? Or maybe the fact that properly stored white rice from 30 years ago would still be perfectly safe to eat today? If you found this information helpful, do yourself a favor and hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more practical food tips that save you money and reduce waste. And drop a comment below sharing which of these items you already have stockpiled or which one you'll be picking up on your next grocery run. Until next time, shop smart, waste less, and enjoy the peace of mind that comes with having foods in your pantry that truly stand the test of time.